I felt like it was on my skin. It starts to like move. It was looking right at me. I could just like feel that it wanted me. Hey guys, welcome back to Uncanny Channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different because instead of telling you about a paranormal event or place or phenomenon or anything like that, I'm going to be telling you guys a really scary experience that I had. So today's going to be a story time, and I'm not trying to become a story time channel, so don't worry about that, but I thought it'd be interesting to share some of my personal scary experiences with you guys as well. So without further ado, here is one of my terrifying sleep paralysis experiences. For people who aren't familiar with what sleep paralysis is, it's basically a phenomenon and you don't really know what causes it. There's a lot of theories as to what causes it, but no one really knows for sure. The Reader's Digest is that basically you're asleep and you wake up like mentally, like you wake up, you can open your eyes a little bit and stuff, but your body is still asleep and there are parts of your brain that are still going through REM cycles, and so you're awake but you can't move. You're seeing things like in the room around you that your mind is trying to interpret in a way that makes sense, and so you start seeing all these shadows become like alive, and it can be really, really terrifying. That's not the most scientific explanation of it, but that's kind of like the gist of generally how it's understood to work. And I've been having sleep paralysis for years, and I've had a lot of different experiences, and every time is a different like horror basically. So the story I'm going to tell you is my first sleep paralysis experience, and it's not the scariest one that I've ever had, which if you hear it you're probably gonna be like, how is that not the scariest thing you've ever experienced? But it wasn't. But it was the first one, and it was one that had the greatest impact on me, and I still like think about it because I didn't know what sleep paralysis was when it was going on, and so I was like really like just totally freaked out about what was happening to me. So that's the story I'm going to tell you guys today. Get excited because it is super creepy and awful, and I hate that I'm excited to share it with you guys, but I'm kind of excited to share it with you guys. So buckle up, here we go. So this took place at the end of my second semester of my freshman year of college. So it was like this time when I was doing all of my exams and wrapping everything up there, and also planning to pack all my stuff up to move back home for the summer because I had to move out of the dorm. They didn't just give you like the dorm for however long you're gonna be there, they like made you move out at the end of the year, and sometimes depending on the dorm you would have to move out even most of your stuff during Christmas break, which is weird. But so I was trying to get all my stuff together to move back home for the summer. I had a bunch of exams because I was taking 16 hours of classes, which if you're not familiar with the American system, it's like you get a credit for every hour of class that you take during the week. So like if you're taking 16 credits, I was taking 5 3-hour classes plus a 1-hour lab that went with my science class. Usually, especially when you're a freshman, they recommend you only take like 12 hours. I was like, no, I want to like get it out there. So I did, and it was a huge mistake. It wasn't a huge mistake because I did graduate a semester early, which was kind of cool, and I definitely got all my credits in on time, so I don't regret doing it, but it was a huge burden to take on for not ever having experienced college before and never like having taken college courses and knowing what kind of work and like extra time they would take outside of class. I was either in class or I was in the library writing papers or studying for exams in my classes, and they're all like huge exams because most of them are English classes. I was there probably until like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I would come back to the room and like sleep a little bit and then get up in the morning and go to class again, and I constantly had some kind of deadline to meet, and it was that way for like the last 3 weeks of class. I wasn't really sleeping a lot because I was so busy, but then I was also not really sleeping a lot because I didn't know then that I had really bad anxiety. I know that now, but I thought I was just stressed and it was normal, but I was waking up like every 20 minutes, like with everything running in the back of my head of what I need to do. I need to write this paper, and I need to do this, I need to do that, and like trying to plan in the back of my mind constantly how and when I was going to do all of it. And I would wake up and I was constantly like tossing and turning, and like if I was in bed for 6 hours, I was probably only sleeping a total of 2. So I was high stress and high anxiety and not sleeping well, and when I was sleeping, it was stressful sleep. So I was really in this space where theoretically they think that sleep paralysis would come from. Like a lot of the time, the theory is that it comes from a messed up sleep schedule or stress, so on and so forth. So I was kind of like, you know, a ticking time bomb for sleep paralysis, I guess. So it was one night when I was actually in bed relatively early. I say that, it was like probably like midnight or something, but I was in bed relatively early because I was at a point where I couldn't think anymore, and anything I was like producing was just garbage. And so I was like, I'm just gonna try to get some sleep and like try to knock this out tomorrow. And so I was laying in bed, and the layout of our dorm was, it has like the kind of beds where you can like stack them as bunk beds, or you can have them as separate. They're like two like wooden frame beds. We like had them separated, and we were both had our heads facing the same wall, but we were like on other ends. We had the two beds, and then we had her desk between them, and the foot of my bed was my desk, and then at the foot of her bed was like a mini fridge and a microwave, and then at the end of the wall, like if we were laying in bed, our feet would be pointing towards these two closets. And the closets will be really important in a second. So the closets are laid out like almost like cubbies on one side, and then it had one like clothes hanging bar on the other side. It had like the sliding doors, so you could roll it open and then you would see the cubbies, and you roll it the other way and you'd see the hangers. So I'm laying in bed, and I finally managed to fall asleep. I was laying on my back, and my roommate, I should give her a name, that's not her real name. I will call her Amanda. So Amanda comes back to the room, and I hear her come in because the way our whole dorm was set up was like in each room there was a common area that had like chairs and stuff, and then bedrooms went off of that. So she came in from the common area, all the lights are on, so like it let light into the room, and it kind of woke me up, like set up, and I was like kind of like hey or whatever. So I started to fall back asleep, and I was still in the back of my mind thinking about all these things I had to get done, and I like kind of like was drifting in and out, but it was kind of weird. Like I fell asleep, and then I guess I stirred a little bit, or maybe she made a noise that kind of woke me up, but I woke up, but I wasn't awake. My eyes were kind of open, they're like barely open, so I could kind of see through my eyelashes a little bit, but I couldn't move. Like I was trying to like roll over to go back to sleep, and I couldn't move my arms or my legs. I couldn't move like my eyes or my mouth. I couldn't speak or anything like that. And I started like panicking because I felt like I was being restrained, like there was something that was like pushing down on me, like pushing me into the bed. You know when you've ever been like at camp or something and someone jumps on your bed, like when you're under the covers, someone like jumps on your bed or something, and like it kind of almost pins you underneath the covers a little bit? It was kind of like that, but I felt like it was on my skin. It was super weird. It felt like the pressure was on my skin directly, not like through the blankets even. It felt like something was almost touching me. And I started thinking like, oh my god, am I dying? Which it sounds really dramatic, but like I didn't know what was happening, and like I wondered, I was like, can I not move because I'm like suffocating? Like have I lost like control of my limbs because I'm somehow dying or something? I started like, obviously I wasn't actually moving, but I was trying to move the muscles in my body to sit up. So like I kept like trying to flex my shoulders and trying to like, you know, like tighten my stomach, and like I could feel in my, I don't know how to explain this. I could feel in my head that I was trying to like throw my head forward to wake myself up, to like, because I also kind of knew that I was asleep, but I didn't know that I was asleep. I don't think it makes sense, but so I was trying to throw my head forward to try like wake myself up, and I knew that I wasn't moving, but I couldn't stop like trying to like jerk myself awake. And like I was trying to say stuff, call out to Amanda and be like, hey, I need like, I don't know, help or something. Be like, hey, I need you to save me. I don't know, like I don't know what I was going to say, but I almost anything, even just like or something would have been fine, you know. And I finally, one of my like head throws actually did like throw me forward and like wake me up. Like when you see someone in the movies when they wake up from like a nightmare where they actually like sit up, like it was like that. It was just like that. And I was like grabbing at myself and like trying to feel like where I was, and like I was like breathing heavily. It was like I couldn't breathe before. You know, I didn't notice that I wasn't breathing before, and I might have been breathing, but when I woke up, it was like I was trying to breathe again. Like I woke up like like these deep, just like I had been underwater or something. And I like felt like my whole body, you know those chills you get when you're really scared, like you think someone is like walking behind you at night, or someone is like in the house with you or something, and it's like those kind of almost like cold flashes, hot and cold flashes like all over your body. It was like that. Like it was this really thick emotion of just being terrified. And my roommate I guess, I don't know, she was still awake in some capacity. I don't know if she was like half asleep and I like woke her back up, or if she was like on her laptop. I said, but she was like, "Are you okay?" And I couldn't even answer her. Like I couldn't even get my bearings. I couldn't explain to her what the problem was, and I was breathing heavy, and she was asking me like, she started like getting out of bed, like, do I need to like call someone? Are you having like a medical, I guess it's like a medical thing? And I was trying to like motion to her like it's fine. I'm trying to convey it's fine. I'm just oh my god, this thing that happened to me, but like don't call anyone. I'm not like, I don't need help or anything. So like I explained it to her, and she was like, do you want to go like take a walk together or something? And like I could tell she was super tired and exhausted, because we both were, and I didn't want, I was like kind of calming down. I didn't want to like make her get up and go walk around, and if I was like feeling okay already, so I was like, it's fine. I'm good. I'm gonna go back to sleep. It was just super weird and scary, and sorry for waking you up. So we go back to bed, and like we start going back to sleep, and I'm like feeling fine. Like I feel I've calmed down. Like this is gonna be all copacetic, and I'm gonna actually get some real sleep. It's gonna be awesome. And as I'm falling asleep, it's the same kind of thing where I fall asleep and then I sort of wake up again, but I'm paralyzed again. And it's all the same kind of feelings, but I can also, I'm like laying on my back, but I'm kind of angled with my shoulders a little bit. I could like see my closet like at the other end of the room, like kind of vaguely. I realize now I'm not dying when this happens, but it's still scary because I'm like not in control of my body. And I'm trying to like nod myself awake. I see this shadow in the closet. The door's open, it's like a foot, maybe a foot and a half, and I see this shadow, I guess, kind of dwelling in this darkness space, and it starts to like move. It didn't have a face, but it felt like it was looking right at me. It was on the other side of the room, but there was just something about it where I was like, this is the thing that's pinning me to the bed right now. And I like wasn't even trying to move anymore or wake myself up. I was just staring at it, and it didn't really have a form, but it almost had like, not even like fingers, just like tendrils, I guess, that like came around like the corner of the door. It almost, I'm like freaking myself out like talking about it. It had like tendrils that looked like were coming on the edge of the door and like trying to slide it open so it could like move out of the door or out of the closet. And it like looked like it spilled out of the closet and like kind of pooled on the floor and then started rising up. I couldn't even look at anything else in the whole room. I was just watching this thing drag itself out of the darkness and like take a form, and it started to like lengthen and like get taller, and it reached just above the top of the closet. And like there's standard closets, so like I don't know what that is, maybe like 5.5 feet, 6 feet. It was tall. It was like a dude's height. It was like a person's height. And like I'm a person who believes in ghosts and demons and stuff. Like I have a level of skepticism where I don't think that every like bump in the night is paranormal, and like when people talk about their house being haunted, I'm like, there's gotta be a scientific explanation first, and then if there's no scientific explanation after that, then you can consider if it's paranormal or not. But I knew what I was seeing, and so like as someone who believes in ghosts and stuff and demons and stuff and shadows and all that, I was like screaming in my head. I was shrieking, and obviously I wasn't shrieking out loud because I was paralyzed, but I was like shrieking because it was so, I could just like feel that it wanted me. So once it's like full height or whatever, it starts to seemingly move across the room towards me. So like it came out of the closet, like where my feet are, and now it's like moving past the desk at the end of my bed and like coming like towards me. It felt like hours that it was there, that I was just staring at it, paralyzed physically obviously, but also paralyzed like emotionally. Like once it got past the foot of my bed is the first time that I like realized that I had to like move. I had to like get away or like alert somebody or something. And so like I started like obviously I wasn't moving in real life, but like internally I was like thrashing around. I was like trying to like wake myself up the way I did earlier, and like, you know, just wake up and just wake up. I was like screaming at myself, trying to like throw my head around and stuff to try to wake up, and like the whole time this thing is like getting closer and closer, and it still is like featureless, but it's like the closer it got, the more evil and intentional it felt about like wanting to harm me, and like I could feel that. So it got to about where my knees were in the bed, and I could feel like that I was getting there. Like I could feel like I was about to wake up. If I would just like throw myself a little harder, I could get up. I would wake up. The longer I laid there and the closer it got, the more like pressed into the mattress I felt, and I was like, it's gonna suffocate me if it gets here. And like I finally threw myself forward, I guess, enough, or with enough intention or whatever, to wake myself up finally. And when I woke up, for a second it was still there, and even though I was awake and I knew that I was awake, like I could tell that I've done it, I could still see it, and it was still there trying to like push me into the mattress. And I could like still feel it, and I could still sense it and see it. Once I got my first like breath of like being awake breath, it vanished, but it didn't vanish like, it wasn't like immediately gone. It was like, you know, kind of like smoke, you know? And it was gone, but I could, oh my god, I was still so, it's like when you like have a nightmare and you turn the light on and you're like, you feel better because the light's on, but you still are like, can feel the fear that you had in your nightmare. It's like you're still like coming down, and like I could still like feel that fear, and I could still feel like that evil feeling, and that like, yeah, it felt like it let go. It didn't feel like I woke up almost, you know? It almost felt like it let go because I woke up. Not like I woke up and freed my body, but it let me go of its own will because I woke up. You know, it was so scary because it felt like I was so out of control, A, and B, because not only was I out of control, but something else felt like it was in control. And it is just, whether it was real or not, it felt real, and that's kind of enough for me, you know? Like the experience of something else controlling me and what I'm doing, and me not having the autonomy to do anything about it, it felt like, was the most hands down terrifying, unsettling, creepy, disturbing experience, and is the worst feeling. And it's not the scariest thing that I saw ever when I experienced sleep paralysis, but it is definitely the scariest thing I've felt during sleep paralysis. Like I mean, it happened a couple other times that night where I like fell asleep and then I was paralyzed. I like threw myself awake, but I didn't see anything again the rest of the night. It was just that second time that it happened that I saw the shadow, and like the shadow like came at me and stuff, and like feeling paralyzed, like the weight on my body felt like like it was the shadow doing it. Any other time it just felt like, okay, you know, my body's asleep, I just need to wake up. I didn't have any of the same kind of terror, and like I didn't see anything, so I didn't have anything to really be afraid of. Like I was trying to wake myself up really fast because I didn't want to see it again, but I didn't see it again. And I've had, I guess throughout my life, I've probably had 12 or 14, more than 10 sleep paralysis experiences, and a lot of them are just that, like waking up and realizing I'm paralyzed and trying to wake my body up. But then some of them I've seen some really messed up stuff. I can tell you about that if you want, but I don't know, maybe objectively this is the scariest thing, and when I tell you the other ones you're gonna be like, it's not that first one. But to me, I guess they were particularly scary. Anyway, that is my sleep paralysis story, my first experience with sleep paralysis, and I did a whole hell of a lot of research after that to understand why and see what I can do to prevent it, which the key is like sleep well and regularly and don't be anxious or stressed, which is like not going to happen, so I continue to suffer. But that's my story, and I hope that you guys got a good scare out of it. I think I definitely wanted to like share something kind of personal, since the last several videos have been kind of removed because they're like, you know, reporting or like, you know, telling you guys about something that I didn't experience firsthand. And I kind of wanted to like, you know, throw something kind of personal and like get to know you guys. And I don't know, tell me your like, what have you ever experienced sleep paralysis? And like, oh, it's a dust. Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis, and what was it like? Like, was it like a similar kind of thing where like you saw shadows coming for you, or did you see some other kind of entity, or like something like weird, like it looked like your grandma standing there or something? Like tell me your stories. I really want to hear them. And like, you guys all talk to each other too. Like, don't just comment your story and leave, like talk to each other about your stories, because it's always nice to have a community. So let me know about that, and if you want me to tell you some of my other ones, subscribe and ding the bell if you want to hear more stories from me, and that way you know when I've posted something new. Like this video if you think sleep paralysis is terrifying, because I definitely do. And above all else, remember that it is a wonderful thing to believe in the unbelievable, except when it's coming for you in the middle of the night. Bye guys.